about to discover how a pair of award-winning television broadcasters took a simple idea and rolled it into one of the fastest-growing businesses in Arkansas, and how owners Cary and Gina Martin are still using some innovative new thinking to change the way we think of travel. So sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a now fateful trip, one that begins quite naturally on a bus.
We were taking a tour in Minneapolis-St. Paul, regular 3-hour sightseeing tour, just like Gilligan's Island. And Gina said, how come Little Rock doesn't have something like this? And I didn't have an answer.
So Cary decided that he wanted to go back to Little Rock and buy a bus. And of course, at that point, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was only joking. But, not more than a couple weeks later, there was a bus sitting in our driveway when I got home.
Little Rock Tours was in business, but Cary and Gina still had day jobs. Both were working television journalists. Husband Cary, a nightly news anchor, and wife Gina, a respected news reporter.
We started this as a hobby. We thought we would get a little bus, show people around for 3 hours in the afternoon, and go home and enjoy dinner.
Turns out dinner would have to wait. The bus tours took off and took over their lives. Soon they both left the news business to devote all of their energy to Little Rock Tours.
We just thought, if we're gonna work really hard and give it our all, why don't we do something for ourselves? Why don't we work for ourselves and at the same time do something that will give something back to the community?
Good evening, everyone.
But that news background hadn't gone to waste.
We thought, with our journalism backgrounds, why not incorporate video clips that go along with the landmarks? So as you approach a specific landmark, we can show you the video that goes with that. For example, the 1957 integration crisis at Central High School. We'll show you the old network news footage from 1957 with the riots in the streets and the Little Rock Nine integrating the largest high school in America. When we approach the Clinton Center, we have President Clinton talking about what he hopes to accomplish with his library and why he built it in Little Rock.
Writers loved the enhanced video tours, and so did the travel industry. The two former journalists were now getting press coverage.
And it has been featured in news magazines and newspaper articles around the world. It's been in every major paper in the United States. It's been featured in Hungary and Australia, England, Ireland. We can't keep up with the number of places that it has been featured.
It would have been easy to just sit back and enjoy the ride. But as any thriving entrepreneur will tell you, when opportunity knocks, you better answer, even if you're not exactly sure what door you're opening.
We had just gotten into the daily sightseeing tour service when someone familiar with the Convention and Visitors Bureau came to us and said, why don't you start a receptive service? They could use your services. And I said, sure, absolutely, sign us up. And they left. And I turned to Gina and I said, what's a receptive service?
As they found out, receptive services were a natural fit for their growing enterprise. Groups coming to town for conventions or tours needed expertise on how to enjoy the city best. Little Rock Tours would do all the planning for them. After all, they knew the town inside out.
We know how long to spend at every museum. We know which places are next to each other. We know the good places to stay and the good places to eat. We take the guesswork out of the planning and we put it together for them. It's bundled up in one package with a little bow on top, and all they have to do is say, this is what I want, and we know exactly how to give it to them.
Little Rock Tours, this is Bill. May I help you?
Meantime, the phone continued to ring. Groups wanted to charter their now growing fleet of buses for trips of their own. The company was happy to oblige. They even started planning their own excursions to some of America's best-known destinations. But first, they needed a trained staff to help accelerate the new growth.
We want to hire people that are smarter than ourselves. We need their expertise. And we've got great folks that have just seen the potential here, and they've answered. And they've come from, in some cases, what we thought were better jobs to come here and help us build something.
And it turns out what the Martins were really building has less to do with luxury motor coaches than you might think.
We didn't get into the bus business, we really got into the hospitality business. Our goal has always been wow factor. We want to be considered the home of outrageous hospitality.
And in this hospitality business, to stay ahead, you better have the best behind the wheel.
Our drivers are so important. The drivers are the face of the company when it comes to picking up a group.
Ed Hogan is one of those faces. He's a longtime driver who understands his job is more than picking up and dropping off.
They have really done their best to find people that have personality and know how to deal with people. Because that's the whole game. You can't deal with people no matter how good a driver you are. You're just not going to do well out on a bus run because people expect courtesies. They also expect to be treated as human beings.
Meanwhile, back at the company's Little Rock headquarters, the driving concern is safety.
One of the things that we're very proud of is the fact that we have a mechanic and a safety manager here inspecting those buses, doing preventive maintenance to make sure that it's not going to interfere, any mechanical problems are not going to interfere with anybody's vacation.
It's a mindset that keeps the company going and growing.
As long as we tend to treat people the way we would want to be treated, or our parents would want to be treated, or our grandparents would want to be treated, we think that people keep coming back to us.
There is no better example than the company's Razorback road trips. Fans are now flocking to University of Arkansas football games by the busload. But in the beginning, the Martins had to tackle a few misconceptions.
The first year we did that, we could barely find anybody who was even willing to consider the idea of getting on a bus and going to a football game with people that they didn't know.
There's a misconception out there that they're getting on a raggedy old school bus and bouncing down the highway. And that's not the way it is.
The next year, we were able to retain some of those customers because they had a great experience and they told some folks. And lo and behold, in 3 days, we were able to sell 300 Cotton Bowl packages because people are starting to actually change the way they think about football games.
Other inspirations have popped up along the way. Take one of Gina's killer ideas.
I was planning an itinerary for a group coming into town, and it was a Monday night. And they said, what is there to do on a Monday night? And I really couldn't, at the time, think of what I could do on a Monday night. Where could I send this group? So I decided, you know what? It would be really interesting to start a murder mystery dinner theater.
The cool thing about the Murder Mystery Dinner Theater is that we do it inside the MacArthur Museum of Arkansas Military History. This museum is said to be one of the most haunted museums in the southeast United States, which a lot of people don't know.
So it's an evening complete with haunting, history, and homicide, plus a 3-course meal.
The room where we eat our dinner is the birthplace of General Douglas MacArthur. It is a building that was used as a headquarters unit for both Confederate and Union troops.
The actors here are all paid professional actors.
Yes, it turns out the only thing better than dinner and a movie is dinner and a murder.
Just getting rave reviews.
As a matter of fact, the entire business continues to get noticed for a job well done.
We were actually inducted into the Small Business Hall of Fame, which was a big honor because we were only one of 10 businesses selected to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Not bad for a company that's really still in its infancy.
It has superseded our expectations. There's no end. And once we have that relationship with that customer, it's a friendship, it's a partnership, and that's the way we see it.
So yes, they'll continue to prove to customers that
getting there is half the fun.
But for the Martins and for Little Rock Tours, the journey is all the fun they could have ever hoped for.